Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and welcome to Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. We're delighted that you have joined us for this Shabbat Chaya Sarah, and we're so excited you're here. Wherever you're coming from, you are in the right place, whether you're here on Zoom or on YouTube or on Facebook or on StreamSpot or on all those things. We really hope you're singing with us, even though I know we can't hear you through Facebook and all the Zoom screens are muted, but we feel it when you sing along. So this is a singing community. If you know the tune, please sing like nobody can hear you, and it's going to be pretty great. So we're going to go ahead and start with Shalom Aleichem, which is on page 13. Page 13, and I'll be calling page numbers from this book, but if you're on Zoom and you don't have a book, we'll be able to download it in the chat here in just a second. So please join us as we sing on Shalom Aleichem on page 13.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashaveh, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Mileh Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zetchem LeShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
And even as we increase the sound in here, we also increase the light. There's a custom to light 2 Shabbat candles as the sun is setting. The sun has been set for a while now, so our candles are already lit. But we like to mark the occasion with the blessing over the Shabbat candles.
So if you wish to join us, we take a moment to close our eyes and to let the Shabbat light surprise us. 1, 2, 3. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We are now going to ascend the ladder from the weekday into Shabbat. We do this with the Kabbalat Shabbat service. There's a collection of psalms and songs that help us get into the mood for this holy day. And it starts with the psalm that begins Lechu Neranenah. It's on page 15. Page 15. Please join us.
לכו נרננה לאדוני נריע לצור אישנו נקדמה פניו בתודה בזמירות נריע לו כי על גדול אדוני
God's essence is beyond human comprehension, but this prayer assures us that we can still recognize the divine through discerning the way God intervenes in the affairs of the world, refusing to succumb to the rebelliousness of our ancestors.
40 שנה אקוט ודור ואומר עם תוהי לבבם והם לא ידעו דרכי אשר נשבעתי ואפי אם יבואון אל מנוחתי.
Page 16. ספרו בגויים כבודו בכל העמים כפלותיו יגדול אדוני ומוריו אלוהים נוראו על כל אלוהים We're instructed to tell the nations that God is the creator who formed the world on a sound foundation. God is the equitable judge of both individuals and whole peoples.
לפני אדוני קיווה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל וצדק וימים ואמונתו. אדוני מלך תגל הארץ ישמחו עם רבים.
We're on page 17, page 17. In our prayer book, it says the highest goal of Jewish ethics is to imitate the attributes of divine providence, the ways in which God cares for us. This prayer reminds us that God is a righteous judge, and divine justice requires that we, too, practice justice and righteousness in our relations to one another.
ורזרו על הצדיק ולישרי לב שמחה, שמחו צדיקים באדוני והודו לזכר קודשו, שירו לאדוני שיר חדש.
Sing to Adonai a new song, page 18. The whole world has seen the triumph of our God. Let all on earth shout for joy and break into jubilant song.
לפני אדוני קיווה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק ומי במי שערים. אדוני מלך הלך כרגזו אמין, יושב כרבנתו.
Page 19. Even though we're called on to be just, there is a difference between human justice and divine justice. God alone judges the world with righteousness, and we, Bnei Yisrael, are a superb example of the righteousness of divine judgment. Yet God, through bestowing compassion on Israel, does not show arbitrary favoritism. Even our greatest leaders must answer for their mistakes.
כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו.
Page 20.
We join together in the middle of the page. תתיר את צרורה, קבל רינת עמך סגבנו, טהרנו נורא, מגיבור דורשי כבודך, כבבת שמרך, ברכם תרם, רחמם צדקתך, תמיד גם חסין קדוש ברוב תוכה נהל עדתך יחיד גאה למענך בני זוכרי קדושתך שבתנו קבל ושמע צעקתנו יודע
On page 21, we have this song, L'cha Dodi. So far, we've had psalms from King David, our poet king. This is a medieval composition of the rabbis, the Kabbalists of Sfat, who wanted to speak of the coming of Shabbat in a very intimate way. L'cha Dodi means, come, my beloved. They were welcoming the presence not just of honored like royalty, but also an intimate friend that could see us through this period of rest to prepare us for the week to come. L'cha Dodi is on page 21. Let's sing it together.
Shabbat נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לא תבושי ולא תקומי ומה תשתוכחי ומה תמי בך יחסו אני איימי ונמתה וירתי לה היולים שיסה שעוזייך ורחקו כל ממלאייך יפסיס מלאייך אלוהייך עם סוס חתן על כלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה ימין ושמאל תפרוצי לעת אדוני תביצי על יד איש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה לך אדוני לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצורה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך אדוני לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה.
We begin to end this part of our service with a final psalm, a psalm specifically for Shabbat, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, on page 23, page 23.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון לזמר לשמך עליון together מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון לזמר לשמך עליון להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות עלי יסוד ועלי גמל עלי גיון וכינור אדוני, מעולם כמובן שמותיך. בזמן שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך אלי, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Really glad you're all here with us. Wherever you're coming from, you're in the right place. And just want to share a few words of Torah for this weekly Torah portion of Chaya Sarah, the most ironically named Torah portion. It's called the life of Sarah, but it means the full sentence is the life of Sarah was 127 years, and then she died. And so that's how it starts. But we have some other wonderful parts of our narrative, essential parts of our narrative in this parsha. We have how Abraham mourns his beloved wife of many decades, how he sees after her in an honorable way, and then also how he finds a son. He hires asks his servant Eliezer to go help find a wife for his son. So it's said that Isaac, in addition to Abraham, Yitzhak was bereft at the loss of his mother and needed somebody in his life to share his life with, and to be his ezer kenegdo, to be his fitting helpmate. So Eliezer goes on this quest, as it were, to find a fitting bride for Yitzhak. And there is let's say a part of our tradition that I think is many parts of our tradition are sometimes what do they say? It's the exception that proves the rule, or they're defined in their absence. There is a strong theme in Jewish ethics and values that actions speak louder than words. That in particular, there's a teaching from Reb Shammai in Pirkei Avot in chapter 1, where he says, say little, but do much, and greet everyone with a friendly face. We are taught to be modest. We are taught to be humble. It says even in Kohelet, there is a time to speak and there is a time to be silent. But you can also read that in reverse. Just as there is a time to be silent, there is a time to speak. And the question I want to ask is it ever okay to toot our own horn? Should we go through life silently? And I mean specifically in tooting our own horn. You think, okay, the good times to speak are when you're speaking out on behalf of someone else, but it's considered too immodest to speak out on your own behalf. Should you speak out to call out injustices? Should you speak out to speak truth to power? But when it comes to our own needs, that's considered bad form. I think there are times when we get to toot our own horn, especially when they are helpful for other people. There's a time to be silent, and there's a time to speak. And there's a strange part of this narrative that exemplifies this. You could see many passages in Chaya Sarah being both redundant and repetitive, where every time Eliezer, this sort of Eved Abraham is, don't think his name is named in here, but we learned later that his name is Eliezer. Every time he's told to do something, he goes and does the thing, but also repeats the story of him being told to do it and doing it. Abraham sends him to back to where his people are from so he can find a wife from the right clan, let's say. And so when he gets there, and he has this sort of test how he knows it's going to be the right person, he identifies Rivka as the right person for Yitzhak, And then he goes into Rivka's house and the family's house, and he says, "Hey, let me tell you this great story. My master sent me out here to do this thing, and I said in my head, okay, if I go to the well and the person who waters not just my camels, but also gives me water and vice versa, that's going to be the right person." And guess what happened? Rivka came and she offered me water, and she also watered the camels. And so now I know this is the right person. So he goes, first we hear the story about how Abraham sends him, and then what happens, and then he tells the whole story to Lavan, to the master of the house where Rivka is. And then when he gets back, he tells the story again. He goes to Yitzhak and he says, "Hey, let me tell you the story. Your father sent me on this mission. And when I got there, I said, this is how I'm going to figure out that this is the right person. And then I went into Lavan's house and I told him this whole story. And now I'm coming back and I'm telling you the whole story." And so over and over again, this is a tale of Eliezer doing something significant, but not much, not a great deal of activity here, but he tells the story over and over again, as you're probably feeling I'm doing right now. But there's a midrash on this from Breshit Rabbah that teaches a particular aphorism. It says that, according to the words of Rebbe Acha, the table talk of servants of the patriarch's household is more notable or more beautiful or more praiseworthy. The table talk of our ancestors' servants is more valuable than the whole Torah revealed to their descendants. Right? And I'd like to point out, we take great stock in the Torah. I'm a huge fan personally, and we talk about it all the time. We're going to read a good chunk of it tomorrow. But what Rabbi Acha is saying here, that even that Torah pales in comparison to the table talk of Sarah and Abraham's servants. Right? The words of these lowly people in kind of socioeconomic hierarchy back then has more to teach us than the Torah. How do we know this? According to Rabbi Yaha, he says there are whole sections of Jewish law that are derived from variations in single letters in the text. Right? A single letter can teach us so much. How much more so can we learn when Eliezer goes on and on for 2 or 3 pages about this mission? It seems like he's just a matchmaker making a match. Why do we need to hear this story 2 or 3 times? Because there's just so much to it. Because Eliezer, humble though he is so close to the source. And we can learn how he emulated the hospitality of his household when he was looking for somebody fit to carry on that legacy. This is when it's okay to toot your own horn. Because at each turn, Eliezer was not talking about how awesome he was at fulfilling this mission, but he was talking about how awesome the mission was and how God was with him at every turn. That is something worth talking about. So as we go through our lives today, as we try to embody this modesty and humility that we're taught throughout our text, how do we know that it's the right time to toot our own horn? How can we do that the right way in our lives? And I like to think that if you can tell a story that's not about how awesome you are, but about how awesome your people is, how awesome your mission is. Not why you're so great that you did a good thing, but that good things are good to do and why? Because we're connected to a higher purpose. That is a good story. So if you have a chance, if you're around a table, and I know we have fewer people around the table these days, but if you're sharing a meal with a child or a parent or a roommate, if you're having a Zoom get together to play the game, was it Kahoot? We play Kahoot quite a bit these days. If you can say, I did this thing today, and look, this isn't to my credit, but it felt good. And it's something I learned from Hebrew school. It's something that I learned from a rabbi or a teacher. And I'm proud of it. And if that story can inspire somebody else to do good, that was worth the telling. So I bless you that in the week to come, you can do much and say little. But if your saying can help others grow, then it is a time to speak. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for being with us here at PJTC. We're going to continue with our evening prayer service, our Mariv service, which starts with our call to prayer, the Barhu, which is on a page, and that page is page 28. Page 28. Please rise if you're able.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai Amborach Leolam Vaed.
ברוך אדוני מבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך
Baruch
אתה
Adonai
אדוני
Adonai
אלוהינו
Melech
מלך העולם
Haolam
אשר בדברו.
Haolam.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה
Baruch
אדוני,
Shemo.
המעריב הרביב.
Amen. If you're standing, you may be seated. We're going to continue with Ahabat Olam, a prayer blessing God's constant love on page 29. Page 29.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Shemo.
אוהב עמו ישראל.
Amen.
שמע
Shema
ישראל.
Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
ואהבת את
את
אדוני
אדוני
אלוהיך
אלוהיך
בכל
בכל
לבבך
לבבך
ובכל
ובכל
נפשך
נפשך
ובכל
ובכל
מאודיך,
מאודיך,
והיו
והיו
הדברים
הדברים
האלה
האלה
אשר
אשר
אנוכי
אנוכי
מצווך
מצווך
היום
היום
על
על
לבביך,
לבביך,
ושיננתם
ושיננתם
לבניך,
לבניך,
ודיברת
ודיברת
בם,
בם,
בשבתך
בשבתך
בביתך,
בביתך,
ובלכתך
ובלכתך
בדרך,
בדרך,
ובשוכבך
ובשוכבך
ובקומך,
ובקומך,
וקשרתם
וקשרתם
לאות
לאות
על
על
ידיך,
ידיך,
והיו
והיו
לטוטפות
לטוטפות
בין
בין
עיניך,
עיניך,
וכתבתם
וכתבתם
על
על
מזוזות
מזוזות
ביתך
ביתך
ובישעריך.
ובישעריך.
ויהם שמות איש.
Continue the next passage at the bottom of page 30 at your own pace, and we'll get back together in just a minute. Vayam Shemot Shemot. Let's join together at the top of page 31. Page 31. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem vasu lehem tzitzit al kanfei vigdehem ledorotam venanu al tzitzit hakanaf batil techelet v'haya lachem letzitzit uritem oto uzchartem את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם, ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריכם, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני
אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם
אמת אמונה כל זאת וקיים עלינו, כי אדוני אלוהינו.
We're at the top of page 32. We always follow the passages of the Shema with a blessing for God's redemptive nature. And this is exemplified by us remembering this time where we left Egypt, we got across a sea in safety and miraculous dryness, and we were so excited that we spontaneously broke out in song in the Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea, and we quote this every time we say this prayer in the form of Mi Chamocha, which is about halfway down the page.
ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
A final blessing following the Shema in the evening before we go to bed every night. We ask God to help us lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign, to life. Hashkivenu is on page 33, page 33.
Eloheinu לשלום ולעמידנו מלכנו לחיים השליחנו לשלום ולעמידנו שומרנו לחיים שלום שלום Shalom, 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 shalom. Baruch atah
Baruch
Adonai, הפורש
Shemo.
סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Amen. We continue on page 34. Page 34.
Let's join together at the top of the page. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. אוי 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 ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
Ikaja v'ikaja Shemei Rabba
Amen.
V'amati v'achirche v'amlich malchuche v'chayachon v'yom echon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael v'gala v'bizman kariv v'emeru
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Olam Me'amaya Yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yinaseh v'yithajar v'yitaleh v'yitala Shemei Dekudesha
Brihu.
Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Shushbechata v'nechamata Shamiran ve'oma ve'meru.
Amen. We rise for the Amidah for Shabbat Mariv. We can begin on page 35b. This is a private prayer. This is your personal time to pray. You can use the words from our tradition starting on page 35b. In addition, whatever the prayer of your heart is, whether it's on the page or not, this is your time to share it. And so we rise in prayer. When you're finished with your personal prayer, you may be seated, and we'll all get back together in a few moments. conclude this part of our service with a Kaddish Shalem on page 48. Page 48, Kaddish Shalem.
Yikara v'yikara shemei rabba.
Amen.
Ramadi rakirte v'amlich malchute. V'achayach chonav yom chonav chay techo beit Yisrael. V'agalav izman kari v'yimeru.
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach. Leolam olal me'al maya yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yishba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitala v'yitalal shemei dekudesha.
Brichu.
Eila min koverchata v'shirata tishbachata v'nechamata damiran me'oma v'yimeru.
Amen.
Ikabas lo tarnavot in Decho Yisrael kotam v'bahon to v'shemaya v'yimeru.
Amen.
V'hei shabarabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru.
Amen.
Aseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimeru.
Amen. If you'll please rise, we close every service with a reminder that it's our responsibility to remember that we are a distinctive community with a special mission in this world. It is on us, Aleinu, on page 51. 51, please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. על כן נקווה לך אדוני אלוהינו יראת ונאהב תפארת עוז. כי המלכות שלך היא, ולעולמי עד תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. This is a time in our service where we remember with honor those who are no longer with us. In the coming week in this community, we're marking the yahrzeit, and that is the anniversary of the passing of Ann Zimmerman, Aaron Masty, Arthur Silberman, Basha Schneider, Bessie Berkman, Ethel Harris, Howard Rotter, Jack Stryker, Jay Jorban, Joseph Kokis, Lena Posner, Leonard Wassam, Lillian Burton Brenner, Lily Lackey, Meyer Patrick, Meyer Rose, Meyer Stepnick, Morris Sharfstein, Norman Ziffrin, Pauline Zakinski, Phyllis Brown, Phyllis Rotman, Robert Brown, Robert Sensor, Reuben Fox, Samuel Goldstein, Sarah Silverblatt, Shana Sergi, Shinji Miyazaki, and Stanley Becky. If there's another name that you'd like to lift up in honor at this time, please hold their name in your heart or say their name out loud wherever you are. And if you are in mourning or observing a yahrzeit, or if you'd simply like to rise and pray on behalf of those who have no surviving ancestors, surviving descendants to pray for them, please feel free to do so. Please rise and join me on page 52 for the Kaddish Shatom, the Mourner's Kaddish. Let's say it together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah Amen.
ba'alma divra kirute v'amlich malchute
b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv vimru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mivorach Leolam Ulalmei Almaya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach Vitpa'ar Vitromam Vitnaseh Vitadar Vitale Vitalal Shmei Dekudsha Brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shemaya V'chaim aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. If you're standing, you may be seated. We have a few brief but meaningful announcements to share with you. I'll just say in the beginning, if you miss any of these, for all upcoming events, please check your e-blast, your email that comes out from us every single Thursday and has links to the following. I want to make sure you know that we've begun this small group discussions. Remember these things? We did these for Elul. We got some small groups together, the groups of a few number of people of all heights, I'll say. But these were small groups. They received such great feedback. We're doing this again, and we're doing it getting ready for Thanksgiving on the theme of gratitude. So these began this past week, but if you didn't do it this past week, but you want to make sure, if you want to join, it's totally okay to start at this point. We have a number of different topics going on. Look to your emails and things from PJTC or call us in the office. People are talking about a lot of different topics, and they're going on for these next few weeks until Thanksgiving. And these sessions run through November 20th, and they're happening every single day. Different groups are going. So you'll find one that's right for you. You'll find a topic that's right for you, and you will make some friends who are just in the same place you are. So please look for that if that's something that interests you. You should know this Tuesday at 7 p.m. we've got the Jewish Federation Book Festival with Mary Morris talking about the book All the Way to the Tigers. Okay. That sounds dangerous, but all right. So check that out. That's at 7 p.m. on the 17th. And at 7:30 that same night, our PJTC Social Hall, that's where we get together on Zoom in a social way. We have a featured speaker. Our very own Louise Wanye is talking about meditation and mindfulness to create better health and outlooks. The mere mention of, I hate to say this, but the mere mention of 2020 makes us tense up by the Gregorian calendar, that is. What better time to learn techniques to breathe through the stress and build helpful long-term habits. So that's happening Tuesday night at 7:30. Wednesday, Sisterhood is having a Rosh Chodesh event at 7:30. Thursday, we're having our final session of our members of the tribe Melton class, but that reminds me that there is another Melton adult ed class that's happening called OMG. I'm not sure what that stands for, but I assume you do. OMG. It's a discussion about different Jewish perspectives on God, what we talk about when we talk about God. How do we all have to see God the same way or at all to be a part of this family? Find out with this class that's starting in early December. Please watch the skies or let us know if that's something you're interested in. The Melton classes are fantastic. Benzion Kogan, who's teaching it, is a fantastic teacher, and you'll really enjoy it if you take that class. So we've got a bunch of ongoing stuff. We've got a Kadima book club is happening. We have meditation groups every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. On Wednesdays, we have a Pirkei Avot discussion group that's ongoing, but you can join at any time. And every Thursday, Rabbi Jason Mann teaches Exploring Your Life Through Torah. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, stay connected to us. And I'll say this one more time because it's beautiful to repeat it. Wherever you're coming from tonight, whatever tool you're using to connect with us, you are in the right place, and we are delighted that you have joined us. Shabbat Shalom. So in just a moment, we're going to make Kiddush together. But before that, we're going to end the service as we began, and that is in joyous song. So it sounds better if you stand up when you're singing, and please do sing wherever you are, because even if we can't hear you, we can feel you. So thanks for being here. Shabbat Shalom. Take it away, Cantor Ruth.
Let's join together. Shalom Aleinu. Shalom Aleinu. Shalom Aleinu.
Good Shabbos, everybody. If you're waiting on us to join us for Kiddush, please do so. If you've got it's a BYO challah tonight. So if you have your own celebratory beverage like wine or grape juice or big red soda, if you're coming in from East Texas, that's if you are, let me know because that would be awesome. But whatever you celebrate with, please join us as we make Kiddush and stick around for some virtual challah as well.
So if you're ready, please join us. Grab some Kiddush cup. Excellent. Let's join together. ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ, וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי, מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי, מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו, אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה ורצון הנהיג לנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תהילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
חיים.
All right, if it's your custom to wash your hands, now's a good time to do it. And if you'd rather, I'll wash my hands here and keep you in mind. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim.
Amen. And if you have the luxury of having a little bit of chalas or some bread somewhere there, we join together in motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. Shabbat shalom,
Good
everyone.
Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbat shalom to all of us who are somewhere else in the universe, in the parts of the world. Shabbat shalom to those of you who are joining us here. Hi, Jeff and Anita and Tova and Ruth and the rest of the gang, Stephanie
See
and
Josephine
Rhonda
and Marcia.
Marsha.
And Rhonda's here from Oklahoma. Nice to see you, Rhonda.
So Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Good Shabbos. If you're on Facebook, it's going to end pretty soon, but I'm going to leave the Zoom chat open for just a second if people want to hang out.
Okay, here.